everyone, it's great to see you. It is cold and windy today, and that means it is time to dig up our caladiums so that they can overwinter inside. So I have 3 different spots where I have some caladium this year, and as you can tell, they're starting to droop a little bit. So when it gets cold, one of the signs that they're not happy and that it's time to dig them up is that you'll notice that they sort of start flopping. Now, when you go to dig up your caladiums, you probably do want to make sure you're wearing some gloves. For some people, apparently the caladium juice sap is irritating to the skin. So in case you're one of those people, put on a pair of gloves. So first you have to just dig them up. They really don't root very deeply. They should only be a couple inches deep. A lot of times you can just sort of scoop them out with your hand. I did bring a trowel just in case. Oh yeah, these are gonna come out easy. Okay, so here they are, and you want to brush off as much dirt as you can while you're right here. So you'll just end up with your bulb and some roots and the stem with the leaves. We'll leave all the good dirt in the garden here. And if you have lots of different types of caladium, you might need to bring something to label which type they are. Okay. Look at the size of this caladium, oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm just gonna pull it out and sort of separate it here. Leave as much of the dirt as I can. Okay. One more. Let's bring these up to the deck. It is so cold and windy. So I carried the caladium up here on the deck, and this is where I'm going to make a little bit of a mess as we clean up these bulbs. We don't need to bring the foliage or the roots inside with us, just the bulb part. So I'm going to start with this tiny little one because this seems like it'll be easiest, and I'll clean the deck up later. So you're going to grab some sharp scissors or sharp pruners, something like that, and you're just going to be ruthless. You are going to cut off the stem, and you are going to trim all the little roots off of the bulb. And as you do that, you can probably brush off some more dirt. And what you're hoping is that the bulb is nice and firm. You really don't want any sign of rot. And then I'm going to put them on my little cookie sheet tray here. I am not cooking them, don't worry. So as I start to cut these off, I'm looking for any parts that are really soft and rotten. If I find anything like that, that's not what I want to keep. If it's only a part of a bulb, I might be able to trim off the rotten part. Let's see, this one looks pretty firm, so I feel like this is good. I'm just clipping. Sometimes as you get more of the dirt off, like you realize there's more little roots here to trim. That looks pretty good. Oh, here's an example of a rotten one. Can you come nice and close? So if you look here, I can like poke my finger in here. It's just like, ugh. So that part, I'm gonna sort of scrape off. Okay, now we're getting down to some nice, good. The rest of it looks pretty hard and good. So I think I'm gonna try to save this one. I just scraped off that wet part. And then we'll trim the rest. It's been very rainy here too, so it doesn't really surprise me. But we have a little rot. That looks good though. This one, I think that's what we want to look like, to have the stems cut off, to have the roots cut off, and just have this hard bulb left. Let's do some more. Now, if you want to make a floral arrangement, you could be saving some of these leaves. Whoops, there goes one bulb. And you could just stick them in some water inside and get some enjoyment out of that. These are looking a little droopy because it has been kind of cold. So when you think back to the spring and how long we have to wait to actually plant these so that they're happy, like it's really way too chilly out here for a plant that is a tropical plant. If you remember, like you can't even really, this is zone 6B, May is still too chilly for caladium here. I know because I tend to plant them too early and then they're not very happy. I just can't wait to get them out there. But they like it warm. Look at how nice that is though. That's a nice, nice bulb. Okay. Just have a lot of mud on here. There we go. I am trying to keep the same kinds together. You might not be able to tell it, but I am. Okay. So that looks like that is most of that kind. So we're going to try the white caladium here. So this caladium, I just loved this caladium. It was so bright in the shade to have those white leaves. And actually, this came from Ocean State Job Lot. It did not have a name with it, but boy, it has done so well. The stem and the roots aren't difficult to cut at all, so using scissors like this, I prefer that. Just that's a little soft there too, so I'm just gonna take that down. You don't want any rot or moisture that you're going to overwinter. So if you find it's been really wet and you know your bulbs just are too soft, you can give them a try drying them, but then take a look at them before you stick them away. And I'll show you how we're going to do that, because if you are overwintering any of that moisture or that rot, they're just all going to rot throughout the winter. You don't want that. That just makes a mess. This is kind of fun. You know, the roots and the stems are really the parts that hold the moisture. I mean, that's where the moisture is being sucked up by the roots and then sent out for those nice big leaves. So that's really why we want to get rid of them, because we don't want that moisture to overwinter with us. I might should have done this on the grass. It's like giving a giant haircut to your plant. Sometimes for a bulb like this that has a lot of roots and a lot of stems, like the more you cut, it sort of shows you where to go. At the beginning, it just looks like a mess. There we go. Oops, and I just broke that one, but that's okay. That looks good. I'm not seeing really any signs of rot in these, which is great, considering all the rain we've had. And those are, there we go. Just a couple more. So those nice big plants with all those leaves just boil down to these little tiny bulbs. Look at this big mess here. Oh my goodness. So for those of you who are going to make floral arrangements, this is your time, you know, pick out some beautiful leaves here. If you stick them in water, you should be able to get a few days at least of some nice foliage in vases. And they really do look pretty good still. I might have to come back out and do that myself. Okay, so here's your next step. You've dug up your caladium. You have trimmed them, so we just have the bulbs. You might need to label them, especially if you have a bunch. You need to put them up on something that has good airflow all the way around it. So I'm using a cookie sheet, and I'm going to put this somewhere dry. So it could be in a shed, it could be in your basement. I'm gonna put it in my garage. The garage is a nice dry area for me. I know it's gonna be warm enough. You don't wanna stick it in a super cold place, you know, 50 degrees, 60 degrees is fine. And you're going to let them sit like this, raised up so that the air can flow around them for a good 2 to 4 weeks. So I'm actually gonna mark on my calendar 3 weeks. I figure that's in the middle, that's the safest. And then go check on them. Once again, you're going to want to sort of squeeze them, make sure that as they dried, they really are all set, that there's no signs of decay there. As they've dried, any of this dirt probably is gonna dry up too, and you can give them a real good brush off so that you just have those bulbs left. And then after the 3 weeks of drying, that's when it's time to pack them away for the winter. So obviously these aren't dry yet, so I can't pack them away, but I'm gonna show you how I would do that. So now we're inside. Here are my caladium bulbs. They're looking good. I'm gonna put them in the garage, but after that 3 weeks in the garage, I have a box that is all ready for them. So choose a box that fits however many of the caladium bulbs you have. I don't have that many. I'll be able to do a single layer in here, and I'm actually going to use, my husband was very nice. He donated all his shredded papers here from his shredder in here. This will sort of, you know, keep them dry. That's really our goal. You could use perlite here too if you don't have shredded papers. And once they're all dry, you'll just do a single layer and you kind of like just bury them in there. You don't want this to be an airtight, I'm taking it back out so it can dry. You don't want this to be airtight. So I'm gonna sort of just like loosely close it and then put it in a closet in my basement and forget about it until the spring. Remember to write on here what it is and to make a note to yourself where you put them or you'll forget where your caladium bulbs are. Some people poke holes in the box, that's fine. You just wanna have a little bit of air circulation in here as you keep them nice and dry and warm. And it doesn't have to be super warm. You know, like my basement will be fine, 50, 60 degrees, 70 degrees is great. The dryness is really, really what's going to count here. Okay, so let me go put these in the garage for 3 weeks and I'll set it on my calendar. Thanks so much for joining me and I'll see you in the next video.